Welcome back to Made of Wires. Today, we're going to decompile Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hey, Dizzy, good to have you back. If you like what you see, follow, like, subscribe, do all the things. YouTube, Twitch, Made Up of Wires on both of them. YouTube's kind of funny. Somebody had Made Up of Wires. They've had it since 2015, maybe, something like that. They posted one video and never returned, and now that name is lost. If you're not familiar, Made Up of Wires comes from a Nine Inch Nails song off the Downward Spiral album. Got to see Nine Inch Nails last night. Always a good show. Crowd, though, we're all getting old. I told my wife that the last show I went to, there was always this feeling of whether or not you would be crushed to death or something along, like fighting for your life the whole show, and that's part of the fun. Definitely not like that, much more subdued last night. So we've been working on Richter, not Richter the player character, but Richter the boss. I haven't added Richter here, but there's also some other overlays that I haven't added. So from time to time, I like to go through, because I'm not the only one who forgets to add overlays here. I should mention that. Go to soten.z.dev to learn more. This is Zyanomo's project. He started this a couple of years ago. I found it a little over a year ago. In, I think, May of 2024 is when I submitted my first pull request, and starting with some of the tooling, because I was interested in decompiling. Hadn't done a lot in this space. I'd done some reverse engineering, but not decompiling, definitely not matching decompilation. And had found Dragon Blitz. Dragon Blitz is a Symphony of the Night speedrunner, and by some coincidence, some tangle in my brain, I thought, oh, I remember the Mario 64 decompilation project. I wonder if there's a Symphony of the Night decompilation project, and there happened to be one. And so I looked into that. I had some free time and found that it wanted the disk image in a very specific format. I'm pretty judicious about making sure that I own all my ROMs. Oh no, come back. And when I can, especially for disk-based ROMs, I will rip them myself, and the way that I rip them typically is having single bin queue pairs. Most of the ripping tools seem to split the bins out into multiple bins. I don't know why that's advantageous over a single bin queue, but I tend to. So I guess I shouldn't say that. I see why it's advantageous. If you want to extract audio and convert that audio into something else, it's nice to have the audio files separated from the data track. But that's not what I do, because I'm mostly interested in just playing them on different systems, different emulators. So I ripped mine just as single bin queue pairs. And the tool didn't support that, and so that was my first patch, adding support for single bin queue pairs so that I could just dig around and see what was going on. Different things might interest you, so come along and we'll do some decompilation together. But like I mentioned, I want to do some other stuff first, which is adding Richter. Oh, come on. You can do it. I have some disks spinning, and I switched my network connection, and I think that was what was going on. I heard disks spinning, and sometimes I feel like things pause for that read to happen. We're gonna go into, I have a separate working directory for this Soten decomp docs. This is actually part of the same Soten decomp repository. If you go to GitHub, I put it in a separate working directory because the tree for the docs directory is not really the same. It doesn't have the same commit history. If we look at this commit history, much smaller. I'm the only person who has things to this lately. It looks like I do have some unstaged changes. I don't know what those might be. What is different about game meta? So game meta is where our list of games are, because this is in a separate repository from the rest. Oh yeah, that's right. I added the data. I wanted the data to be graphable as well. We're not going to do that right now. So we have this list, and this list mirrors effectively everything that we've decompiled so far. So I know that I did RTOP, and that's not in this list yet, so we're going to add RTOP. And we're currently working on VO6, which is Richter, so I'll add that one as well. Put that in order. Get my pace in the right place. And then I have to remember what incantation there is for starting. Did I just run an npm start? I never can remember what. Oh yeah, npm start. What the magic is for node things. That's why I like make files, because then I don't have to remember anything. I can just run like make start, and somebody else has figured out what framework. In my Dizik is asking, how can I identify where code starts in a bin file if Splat is unable to do it itself? Is the header somewhat fixed size or something? I'll go into that in 1 second. Let me try to load this page. Doesn't it tell me what port it started on? $3,000. So this is my local copy. It is not happy with me. I'm gonna revert my other changes here. I don't know if most places are like this, but so I work for myself now, and I have time to do things like this. But when I worked for big companies, just checking what other things I have here. With limited exception, maybe my first job out of college, all the projects that I worked on used many languages. I worked for a FANG and JavaScript, Perl, Java, C++, Ruby. We had an internal language, like a Lisp dialect. So 5 or 6 languages regularly I would program in. The last job I had was fewer than that. What scripting language? We had Ruby, Java. I did a little C. Not a ton of Python, JavaScript. But it's pretty common to program in many languages. And this project is no different. We have lots of languages. Happy affiliates anniversary, Dig Down Deep. Appreciate it. I didn't realize that this was the day. So this was about a little over a month into when I started, a year and a month into when I started streaming. So let me stash this and then see if this is going to work. So then this project, we use Python, Go, Rust. Having as many compile languages is kind of unique, I think. This web interface is JavaScript, C obviously for the game itself. Most of our scripting stuff is in Python. There's a few shell scripts here and there. Oh, shell in all the languages. And so what I expect to see is another error. What is causing the error? Like last time I did this happened as well. So, oh, duh. This is my fault, and I didn't have to do this. When you add, you can't just add the list of overlays. There's also a second map that has the overlay name. Here we go. So I need to add these as well. Anyway, point of my story about all these languages. Do other people have that same experience? Is that like that at most places? Or I know other jobs I've had, like you had like the .NET guys, and they would if you were a .NET guy, you'd program in C# and you'd spend your day in Visual Studio, and that was it. You wouldn't do anything else. The idea of another programming language was absurd. Here we go. So now we should see RTOP down at the bottom. Here's our RTOP, and it was a one and done. And then we should have BO6. And BO6, I don't know why we're not getting... I'll have to look at... I'll have to look at progress. Something's going on where progress for this is not being added. Maybe I didn't add progress. I don't know. Okay, so Dizik asked, how do you know where code starts in a file if you don't know anything about it? Fortunately, we can look to tooling and other things that people have learned in the past. And so that's where I'm going to start. And we can look at what would be a good file? Let's look at something like DRA for the JP version of the game. We don't have any JP stuff. I started looking at JP. Can we look at main? Would that work? So the first thing that we know about any particular overlay is, let's look at main to start with. The final binary file is going to have different sections that the compiler is going to put different things in. And actually, this one's a little interesting. This one is not the same order that we would typically expect. RO data is coming first, followed by code, or it's called text, followed by data and BSS. The normal order that we have for this in our most of the overlays is data, RO data, text, BSS. So how do you know that order? We'll cover that in a second. The easiest thing to find is text, which is, again, that's compiled code. Guess 73, congratulations. So with main, we have PlayStation SDK libraries built in. So we're actually probably going to have some symbols in there too. Let's try to do a file. Let's see if file can tell us anything. I'm not sure if this is an ELF binary or not, but Splat will actually tell us some stuff about main. The other overlays, they're not structured in any way, or they don't have metadata in them to tell us anything more about the file. But I think main might, because the BIOS needs to know where to go. So let's look at that. We're going to look at disks US. This is the SLUS 000.67. And so file knows that this is a PlayStation executable. It knows where the program counter register it needs to be set. So this is the address of main. It knows that this is going to be loaded at this offset. So if we look at that, we should see the main symbol at offset DFC. And it knows that this is 89K in size. But that's main, and main doesn't tell you much. So we looked at main a little bit yesterday. So once you get main, you can decompile the main function in the entry point. So there's enough data, and even tools like file know enough data about PlayStation executables to tell you that. And this will tell you what file it's going to load, in this case dra.bin, and it will tell you where it's going to load that in memory. And that is, in our case, the program pointer. And the one thing that I didn't know yesterday, I was trying to figure out, is where or how is gmain.game linked. So I do want to see that, because that will tell you where the next function is, which can help you. So let's look at build US. We'll look at all the maps. So that's the start of DRA. And so what this is saying to me is that the first function in DRA is going to be at the start, but that's not true. Oh, it's not true. It's not true. The DRA header is there. And so this is actually a pointer to a function. And so in this case, we know that, and this is how all of the overlays are for Symphony of the Night. I don't know that this is how all the overlays are for all PlayStation games, but this is how Symphony of the Night works. Data is the first section, and in every case, the first thing in data is some structure that has some type of API. In this case, they're not including the main game pointer. The main game pointer appears outside of that API structure. But my guess is that in the real game, that it was part of the same API, because you want to structure and you want to know the layout. But so Then you have the address. So if we looked at the, we could do it a couple ways. We could do hex dump. So what we expect to see as the first thing in here is this is going to be a VRAM address. It's in little endian mode. So 80 0E 3988. So let's take that and we'll grep for that. And that should be the main game function. Remember your little endianness. Tell it where to look. Map files get generated by the linker, and they're text, human readable versions of kind of what's going into the ELF file. Oh, this. Type the right thing. Type the right thing. There we go. And so that tells us the address of one of the functions in the game. Once we know that, so we need to know the offset as well. We can learn that from main. We started at 8000E. So we want to figure out what the offset was. So we're going to take this value. Let's see if my calculator is ready to go. It is. Show it. There we go. So take this value, subtract 8000A. And so this is my offset in the file. Go back to hex dump. Somewhere around, let's do 043980. So we start at 88, which is right here. So what I would do next is take this and put it into a MIPS decoder. And I usually have one around. It's one from Bucknell University, makes sense. And so again, this is going to be little endian, and so we need to flip it around. And what this should be is pushing registers to the stack. What we have before it is null padding. And what we have before that may or may not be pointers. I'm not sure. So yeah, we're taking the stack pointer. And adding FFD8 to it and pushing it back to the stack. FFD8, that's actually a negative value, so our stack is growing down from memory. This is actually a question that I used to ask in interviews. If you can write C, how do you tell which direction the stack is growing? And so this is coming up as an unsigned function, but it's using a negative value. So ultimately, it doesn't make a difference, but that's what that's doing. So if you let's see how many in chat can pass the interview. If you have a C function, or if you can write if you can write C, how do you tell which direction the stack is growing? All right, so there's probably more details that I could get into. If it's a completely greenfield new game, I would probably start with the assumption that main is in this RO data text data BSS order. Let's try one more thing. Let's try make config, or yeah. Splat has a create config option. It doesn't always work. Let's try it on something that I know doesn't exist. So boss, BO7, is there a BO7? Yeah. Yeah, so all these overlays, unfortunately, are not going to be, they don't have any metadata in them. It's just, they're just blobs. So let's find, what is a good way to do this? The PSP files, they all have MetroWorks headers, if they were compiled with MetroWorks, which is nice. We can look for the prefix as well of that. Crap, I got rid of my... So you can look for the prefix of those instructions. So we want the add IU instruction. Let's go back and see. Add immediate unsigned SP. It doesn't want commas, and we'll say -3. And so this will generate it for us. Well, will it give us? Oh, okay. Let's do that. No dollar signs. It does want the commas. All right, so this 27BD will likely show up in at least the 27B part. I'm wrong, and the reason I'm wrong, so we could do this, we can I think I can look for hex digits. No. Well, we should be able to find that pattern. 27 is going to be a little more. The BD actually, I'm surprised the BD doesn't show up. Oh, duh, because I'm stupid. Little endian. There we go. So this will show up at the end of a 32-bit value. These are aligned on 4-byte boundaries. And so let's go to the top again. I would not be surprised, and I would wager that for this particular overlay, code is going to start at, or the text section is going to start at 12FB C. Let's look at one that we know, like DRA. Thank you for the little endian. So we do see one at 423AO. Let's look at that. 423A0 offset. So this has the C file starting slightly earlier. So let's look at 23AO. It will be A plus 4, 14. 14 is E. So I'm expecting something at A00E. Might have done this math wrong. That's for 23AO. Oh. I'm failing. 23AO. I would expect something to be there. There may be... And this other stuff looks like data. So this is saying that 42398 is where code starts. So let's look there. This is putting the code start 4 bytes early. It's possible that this is wrong as well. Let's decode that and see. Occasionally, these will be incorrect. So this is loading a pointer value. And then the next instruction is... So we could look at this if this is a function. It could be. This could be legitimate. There are times, though, where these offsets are wrong, and compilation works because the size of everything that comes before it works out to be the correct size. This is loading something into V0 as well. So let's look at what is that function. Maybe there is. So maybe I'm wrong about the stack pointer one being the first instruction. I really thought it was, though. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So we're going to look for 42398 in ASMUS here. This will be in matchings. Oh, and yeah, I guess I was wrong. It's not dealing with the stack first. The optimizer can do this. It's loading this pointer first and then doing the stack offset. So bad heuristic. Now, how do we actually... What do we do here? Oh, we know details about these, but you wouldn't know this on a new game. So if you look at the make config script, sorry, I did have that assembly up, and no, I don't. We'll look at this is what that assembly looked like. It's loading this current buffer pointer, which is legitimate. Let me show you the make config script as well. So we know that every overlay has a header structure at the beginning of it, and the pointers of that header structure allow us to basically find all the offsets that we need. And so we can kind of cheat, but that's because we know a lot about the game. I don't want source, I want tools. So there's a few things that, and again, this can only be done once you know enough to get started. All right, so we know we already have a base of symbols that we know may show up. Where am I looking? Config the station. So let's look at this estimate C function begin. And yeah, it's doing what I suggested, which is looking for that first add with the SP register. It doesn't give you exactly the first instruction, but it'll get you close. Likewise, the jump tables are going to do something similar. They're all going to be pointers into other functions. My guess is here for BSS, again, we know the order of these sections, and that's something you have to figure out for your particular thing. You can cheat a little bit and look into the source for the first offset and then see if there's a function there. Yeah. So something like BSS, I don't know what this implementation is going to look like, but the way that I would probably do it, since we know that BSS is at the end of these files and it is padded out to the size of the file, is just seek to the end of the file and keep reversing until you run out of zeros that are byte aligned. And yeah, that's that's what this does. Just goes backwards until it finds the first non-zero word. All right, and anything else that this does? So the other trick that we have is because we have so much compiled, and I spent a while talking about this and got this integrated a while ago. In here, we have in this particular game a significant amount of the code is duplicated for every stage, and so the pointers are different, but the code is the same. It's usually compiled exactly the same, except if some constants are different. But we have enough of these now that I wrote a tool that goes through and masks pointers and things like that in the instructions, and then does kind of a streaming search for those functions. And so we can find entire chunks of code that are the same, and often the ordering of that code puts it at the beginning of the code section. And so we can find a lot of that stuff automatically too. That, again, that comes with a more mature code base. I might do that though. So I would like to make some videos, like pre-recorded videos about doing this, and I think that's a good topic. Like, how do you even start? And it's not always straightforward. Let's get back to Richter. What should I do? Do we have a find? Looks like it'll work. Hey, Microsoft Excel. I don't know. There's a bunch of conventions. So this is the first decomp project that I've worked on. There's a bunch of conventions that I'm not sure where they've come from. some of them, like the U16, S16, those are very Rust-like, and I'm not sure if they were just taken from the Rust link. Like, as a C programmer, I want uint16_t. Like, I want standard int as my types, but that's not what's chosen for whatever reason. It is much more terse to use S16. The G underscore, that is Hungarian notation, right? Is that Hungarian or, yeah, RPN, reverse Polish. I always get that confused with RPN. Not the way that you type things into calculators. Yeah, but where did the I will crest says they came from the N64 decomps. Where did the N64 decomps get them? Rust existed at the time. I doubt Rust took them from the Mario 64 decomp project. Roaming, you're right. You're absolutely right. You passed the interview. Put a variable on, have a local variable, call a function, and return the address of the variable on the stack. And you could do it the opposite way too. Parent function can have a local variable, pass the pointer to another function, compare it to the pointer of its local variable. Either way would work. Next question. How do you... I did a lot of interviews. Hundreds and hundreds of interviews. You could do a stream about that. How to pass the interview at a FANG. Okay, Microsoft Excel is saying that... oh, Guest73 says U32 and I32. I32 is a little different than S32. In the kernel, Linux kernel. In the Rust sections of the Linux kernel. Joking. What do I want to do? Where do we have include ASM still? And how many do we have? $300. Is that true? No, 113. The other ones were from the PSP. Let's find files that have include ASM in them still. There's going to be the one function cutscene that I wasn't able to get. Okay, and then just these two, Richter and this other one. Let's work on the Richter file. There should be a few unique things in here still about setting up. I want to work on things that are not necessarily duplicated. So I'm going to go and look at the dupes report, which is here somewhere. And I mentioned this before, but that was one of the things that impressed me, I think, about the Symphony of the Night decompilation project. And looking at other decomps, especially that are early, I looked at the Final Fantasy VII decomp. A lot of people are, they're very excited and they get past the initial hump of getting something decompiled. But then the project stalls out, or I don't know, there's not broader interest, or a million other reasons that projects like open source projects kind of peter out. And one thing that I thought was super impressive with this project is just the amount of tooling and thought about the build process, having CI very early on. All these things were Oh, if I can't copy this, not good. 1 second. I'll try to. rebind. I have ports that bind on my SSH in. Still a human, I think. I will craft. Can I explain how in Silent Hill Decomp we had an overlay? Yeah, go ahead. And if you don't mind, I'm going to continuing. We have something that might be part of G Player. I did fix the offsets, but and I have re-exported since then. This may be part of G entities. G entities DC, so this is 4 bytes in. And 4 bytes in, I think, is position Y. G entity 64 is Richter. This is going to be Rick pos Y, and then -4 from that is Rick pos X. Kind of an odd instruction. Oh, roaming's on YouTube. I did re-export, and the problem is that the baked in... No, that's not a problem, is it? Why? I'm not sure why it didn't show up as gentity 64. When the way that we have our build set up, when I modify symbols, and I can get rid of this ASM to be sure, but when I modify symbols, we should re-export everything. I'll let that go, but yeah, I don't know why it's not based on offset. Yeah, okay, so I will correct is saying in Silent Hill, they look for the first and last functions, and then using Ghidra, and then look for the first global variable, and then that gives you data, text, and from there I'm guessing RO data is either before or after that. RO data is always going to be, so if you know function boundaries, RO data, I shouldn't say that. RO data is going to be a mix of text, but typically there could be a case where text is the first thing in RO data. Typically it's going to be jump tables, and so you're going to get a bunch of pointers inside of functions, and that's a huge tell that that is where is my... Here. That's what I was looking for. So did this turn out any better? No, it didn't turn out any better. Yeah, there are these cases. I feel like SPIM just does not figure out that this is a symbol. Oh. It may... Let me try one more thing. Let's get rid of config undefined US B06. I never get rid of these. These are generated files. I really dislike that they're in the config directory. Let's try it again and see if that worked. No, it didn't work either. So something is causing this to get a symbol. It's just showing up in undefined sims. I have no idea why Spim doesn't detect that. There was a change recently in Splat Spim, and it's going to be a pain for us to, I think, upgrade. This is the second time in a year that there's been some change that completely breaks the way that we've done things. Let me follow up. Our data segment is always the first segment, followed by text segment, and then the data segment. Yeah, and that's possibly how so RO data, text data, BSS. That's how main is, and so we don't know what was like how they compiled the overlays for Symphony of the Night in Silent Hill. Is there anything in the overlay that tells you so every overlay in Symphony of the Night has basically a header structure that's in a known format for the game? Is that how Silent Hill is as well? I should look at the Silent Hill decomp. Oh, I didn't realize there was a PlayStation add-on for Ghidra. I should look at that as well. All right, so any of the unknown zeros here, for whatever reason, they're going to be rick.posy. Not quite. They're going to be rick.posy.val. Posy is we call it F32 struct. So Konami uses fixed point numbers where 16 bits is the integer portion, 16 bits is the fractional portion. And we usually get those through .i high and .i low, depending on what the game wants. We should finish fixing these. In that F32 is a union between a 32-bit value. The 32-bit value is val, and then the I struct has high and low 16-bit values. Velocity X is also a fixed 32. Is it? Yeah. So I need to add val there as well. Right? Isn't it? Maybe it's not. No, we just have it assigned 32. Oh, that's nice. It is in fixed 32 format, but we don't have to treat it like that. It must never be treated. Yep, pos plus equal velocity. That's exactly right. And that's pretty common. My guess is that these are backwards, but they might not be. Let me make sure that nothing else is using those. I frequently will delete those temps without fixing all the references first. I need to do these two. This looks like it might be a less than equal, maybe a less than equals, we'll see. Okay, so we're not close. That's okay. This VRAM flag. So we're doing a mask here, which means that it looks like there's an unsigned 16 value here. We'll call it VRAM flag. One's kind of a curious function. The velocity may be going to a local. Oh, what did I screw up? Nothing. GRIC VRAM flag. The 0 here is, I don't think, is actually being used this way. I think the assignment's happening here. Yeah, velocity X. So it is a fixed 32, or what we call the F32 type. But for whatever reason, it's never used that way. We never need to get the integer portion separate from the fractional portion. Oh, it rat. It does have to be set to 0 first. I was hoping that the way that these fall throughs would work. That this was just an optimization. Let's try adding an or equals here just for consistency. I don't think it will make a difference. So the first thing is that the VRAM flag address is being cached early. And then we're never loading that value back again. Unless we say it's volatile, we can't really force that address to be loaded again in an obvious way. Let's reorder those. That makes things much worse. Fun. The G entities is only loaded once. Curious. So what I'm looking at here is okay, let's do this. Let's take a pointer to Richter instead of using our Rick macro. So Rick just basically is a macro that expands to G entity 64. So we can take Richter, make it a pointer to Rick. I don't think they necessarily had that macro. That's just what we've been using, and usually it works. But let's see if changing all our Rick dots to use that Richter pointer makes a difference. Next time, do a case sensitive search. Line 8. Yeah. Yeah, so that was no different. I was hoping that would improve things a little bit. I really don't know why these... Oh, there is a little bit more going on here than I expected. So right now, we're only doing an assignment on one side of the VRAM flag. It's actually happening on both sides of the VRAM flag. And I need to figure out, or sorry, both sides of this condition. I need to figure out what the other side is going to be. That obviously doesn't make sense. But let's look at this condition. So if the branch fails, we're going to continue going down, and we're going to store the position, and we're going to OR equals 8. Otherwise, we're going to store the value we might be returning. Is this a return value? We might be returning this. Or V0 is just being used. Where is our OR equals? So I think, are we? Let's do this. No, that's not quite right either. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to get to quick. First is looking at these. I have a script text to fix, which will give me the fixed value. This is kind of a gross fixed value, so I'm going to add 1 to it. So let's see, 179. So this, I think it's going to be less than equal fixed 179, or greater than equal. No, less than 179, and then I don't like this though. This isn't quite what I want either. Maybe the assignment is at the very end. Yeah, possibly. But we are getting reads every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 loads of this. And we're loading it each time as if it's volatile. So there, let's see. The B3000 is unique. This fixed 179. I don't like thinking. I'm gonna go to the PSP. So the PSP got it the first time. And it is, yeah, relatively simple. It was an or equals and not just equals. So what is different? Let's go grab this. So there wasn't any of this funny business. Most of these can be, you can tell what they are by looking at them. So F8 is going to be $256 minus 8, $248. 48 is not a very common number. It's just going to be 8. some of this funny business with the else's. No return value. No Richter pointer that I can tell. So let's undo all that stuff. So setting VRAM flag specifically to 0. All the Richter stuff. Is just going to the Rick struct. No VRAM flag. The OR I is interesting. Where is that coming from? All right, so we have I tend to prefer making these even numbers, so this being less than 80,001 hex, writing that as less than equal 80,000 is cleaner and should generate the same thing. Same thing with the greater or equals and the less than here. They did pick out the greater than equals here. So that might be one of them. Yes. So this one must be then. This is also greater than equals? Yes. Okay. So that was the difference. All the symbols are wrong. So this, it could be the greater than equals consistency. That might be enough. That's my other one that I saved earlier. But it's completely not a match. What is going on? Let's try something unorthodox. We can force this to be a cast to a pointer, or sorry, to a word. And if we do that every time, so there's some other addressing issue or something else that is bizarre. That doesn't work. What if we treat GRIC as a so my goal with this I don't think this is going to work though either. Basically every time I have this GRIC VRAM flag, I know chat is blowing up telling me how stupid I am, but I need to... Let me finish my thought. Yeah, it caches that offset every time. Yeah, got the compares. It does. VRM flag does sound like MMIO. It is a poorly named variable. This, I don't think this is going to work, but let's check it just in case. So VRM flag is a poorly named field. It normally has nothing to do with VRAM. Let's make it volatile. Yeah, and making it volatile doesn't matter because we can still cache the address of it. So what seems like is happening is more along the lines of like the optimizer. Like for some reason the optimizer thinks that it can't keep this value in memory. And that it needs, like, in all of these different code paths, it needs to look up the GRIC name again because something might have happened during this assignment or some other place that would invalidate its cache. But nothing is happening that would invalidate the cache. So one of the things I see up here, and I'll look at that briefly, is the velocity X and Y reads are happening together, whereas the way that this is currently written, the stores are interleaved, so possibly there's variables here. The PSP, I would expect PSP to yell at us about that though. And it's not. We're doing the load words. They're not going into registers, variable registers. Maybe just try to compile it. It is being compiled. Every time I type something, it's being compiled. Could it have something to do with this? Is this... this should be onside 32, but that shouldn't make a ton of difference. What if we have it something random? Yeah, that is worse. I'll try to do that. I think it's gonna bust some stuff, but Dizik would like me to compile this in line. I'm not hopeful. Yeah, so there could be, it's possible that there is, some declaration or something that I don't have my context that would help here. The error should be around offset 40,000 hex. But when an error like this happens, if we look at the number of instructions, we're outputting 4 bytes less than the original was. And so that shifts every pointer after it, and those pointers are referenced all over the place. So we can't do that. This doesn't make sense to me, but this could be out of order. This is really bizarre. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna try something that I normally don't do. Still works. So it's weird that the PSP would be this close and the PlayStation is so far off. Everything is words. Like, these could be halves or whatever. How strange. The 0 assignment. Let's look at this specifically. I mean, even that is different. Yeah, so it's like VRAM flag is being treated as volatile. Let's make it volatile. So we're gonna say that you are a volatile U32. And you too are a volatile U32. No change. Because yeah, it's not the fact that the write must happen. It's that it's reloading the address every single time. And that's not normal. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fork. The one time I intentionally mean to use this button, I usually don't use it. I'm gonna grab M2C's original here. This, for the purposes of this, getting this compiling, this is going to be a sine 32. It already doesn't work. Look at how close that is. Oh, wow. Okay, so let's figure out where this breaks. So my guess is that some of this is out of order. But of course not that, because that would be stupid for that to be out of order. So this is the only GRIC thing we have, right? Yeah. $19. So the big difference here is the to give us what we want. Come on. I always think it's weird when Y comes first, but all right, let's start. There are times when plus equals does make a difference. Everything is making it worse. Oh yeah, this is what I was trying to figure out before. We have an extra or equals. No, we don't have an extra or equals. It's happening up here. I'll chat. I'm flummoxed. Auto mod. Hey Eldritch. Good to have you back. Hey Spring Quetzal. Do Wiles? Yeah, possibly. Let's throw some in there. Let's force it. So the do while construct is a hack to force ordering, but also occasionally will. Oh, jeepers, that made it worse. That made it really worse. Occasionally will give us the behavior that we want. This I'd almost be interested in throwing into the permuter the way that it is. Where's this store? Could these be baked values? Oh, and I should go fix these just in case that is screwing anything else up. It's not. Yeah, this might be a case for the permuter to go through. I really am kind of at a loss. Let's try putting these back to struct access and see if that breaks anything. The only one of these that matters is that top one. We could look at this. Let's do that. Let's look at that, see if there's anything funny with this global. Looks like it's in BSS. So we probably won't be able to tell much from it. Only if something else is accessing it, like a array. But my guess is, yeah, it's just a lone word. Oh, it's part of GRIC! It's part of GRIC! Well, that makes me feel dumb. Alright. Sometimes looking up unexpected things might bring you to the answer. So this is unknown 04. I'm going to add a symbol for that so I never make this mistake again. Did I say something about having a segment tree in here? That'd be nice, maybe. I still don't know why this will work, but I'm hoping that it will work. We'll see. So this unknown 04, I believe, when it shows up, is typically the previous VRAM flag. Like, I'm happy it worked, but mad at myself, disappointed. I'm disappointed that I didn't catch that earlier. No! Why? Why? You got to be kidding. I'm gonna change all these to plus equals and hope that hope that this works out. Oh, we're never decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night again. Let's make that order. Now we go. Whoa, what did I do? Tomorrow is Crystal's Pony Club. No, that was Crystal's Ponytail, not Pink Pony Club. Can we put these in the correct order? Nope, still can't put them in the correct order. What? Oh, duh. Okay, I feel better about life. I don't have to give up ever doing this again. Yeah, it still works fine here. One time that the PSP is more lenient than the PlayStation. Thank you for sticking around. The struggle is real. Looks like I screwed something up in symbols. Ah, this has been used before. Screwed up before. So this is G. Rick. Unknown 04, and I'm gonna keep it like this for now. I guess is that it's actually being written like this. Change two things at the same time, not safe, but so the reason I want it written like that is because VRAM flag, and then I think this Unknown 04 is gonna be previous VRAM flag, and that ordering makes sense in my head. So let's look at G. Usually this is gonna be done through G player. And where do we have this? And is it always yeah, so I think renaming that field to previous prev PREV VRAM flag, previous VRAM flag, probably makes sense. It's a flip-flop. Yeah, I think it is. But we did it. Oh, thank you for sticking around. That was a rough one. Didn't know if it was going to happen. These should be straightforward. I want to find the next automatic function. Falling in between these, my guess is that I just didn't find the symbol for this right away, and that it's going to be a duplicate. Compilers, yes, compilers are strange. I agree. I should, if I knew how automod worked, chat settings. You've been around long enough that I am not concerned with the things that you say. What can I do? I should probably learn how how Twitch works one of these days. How many years do you have to be on Twitch before it's time to learn how it works? Windows 8. Oh, wow! How could you say that? Oh, ban him! Ban it! Windows 8, actually, Windows 8 wasn't the bad one. Windows 8 was fine. Wasn't it? Windows 8, that was fine? It was better than... I stopped using Windows for a long time. And, like, completely missed Vista. Completely missed 7. Like, I literally don't know if I ever used either of those. And then, I was doing, like, some iOS stuff, and Microsoft had a deal for 8, where if you were... because they were trying to promote their, like, cross-platform mobile developer tools. So I got a copy of 8 for free, or for cheap, I don't remember what. So I had that around for games. And then now my current box is a Windows 10. I've heard only bad things about that I use for games when I occasionally game in Windows. I've heard not good things about 11, about like ads and stuff. Like the idea of ads like in the operating system is just so gross to me. So we do have a symbol for this, and I'm going to add that symbol, and then there's about a 10% difference between these and the other ones, so I think that's worth looking at and seeing what the difference is. This doing stuff in decomp.me that doesn't work out, I don't feel as stressed about. There are times when I'm like messing with splat and messing with symbols especially, and like I'll get something to work and I'm happy. I said I was happy. Oh. Putting the right address in helps. But I'll do something stupid like that, but then do like 4 or 5 steps more and then compile and nothing works, and I didn't realize that I made some stupid mistake. What? You know, 4 or 5 steps earlier when I make some stupid mistake, or exactly the next step. What? Come on. Come on. What did I do here? Oh, that's what I did. I saved the symbols file. That kicks Splat off. So Splat does a re-export, but I didn't change the C file, so Splat comes in, looks for all the include ASM macros, and it doesn't see one with print dummy set, so it doesn't export the function. It thinks that it's been decompiled and throws it in matching instead. Anyway, And then I have to kind of backtrack and figure out. And so I try to be very, like, if I'm doing something sensitive with splits and symbols and things like that, I like to do a lot of small commits, or at least stage into the staging area, get staging area. Oh, it's small. Look at something so small cause so much of a difference. This is small enough that I half expect it to just... M2C to just get it. Yeah. So nothing real... The only interesting thing here is this 0A. My guess is that that's Plazak's eye. No, it can't be. Something segment tree. Oh, it's part of Richter. Segment tree would help. Being part of Richter means that it's part of the entity table. So it's the field immediately before flags. Entity room index. We flip this. Wasn't it 4 bytes offset? What was it? Let's look. So we want A, so we're 2 bytes before C. And 2 bytes before C was flags, so 2 bytes earlier is entity room index. I'm pretty sure. So what does this have to do with a dummy set? And why? So is the other versions of this function? So I don't think this, maybe I've looked this up already and that's why I didn't name it. I think the other versions of this, so it matches the way our fuzzy matching works is by looking at all the opcodes. It doesn't look at the immediate values that get baked into instructions. I did some work to get it to do that, and it wasn't obvious that the results were better. And there's a bunch of things that you have to do to get that to work properly, and I didn't have the time to keep looking into it, or the desire. So it just looks at opcodes. Yeah. Why does this match? So now I have to undo that symbol. This has nothing to do with that at all. So we use a 90% heuristic. We can look at what the assembly looks like for that in comparison, and I'm sure it's correct that it is 90% of the way there. It's just not valuable. Unfortunately, the symbol matchings don't get symbols, which is unfortunate. We have to force them. We can force symbols, but it requires exporting after compiling. So it does not start out the same. I have no idea why this is considered. %90 similar. Did I do the wrong function? I did the wrong function. I did the wrong function. That's why. Okay, so need to undo my symbols. It was this other one. We currently, yeah, okay. I see what I'm not sure actually what happened, but no, I don't know what happened at all. I don't know what happened at all. So we did that function, but it was of no value. We'll get it in there anyway. Not sure. I got mixed up along the way. There's a DRA function that is the one that I was thinking of, and I just missed. So something ended up not compiling correctly in here, and I see what it is already. This was originally and so it looks like it needs to stay that way. Okay, so what function did I think I was finding? And that ended up working. Oh. I don't know what happened. I missed. This function doesn't even... I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. It got done though. So this is another one. It matches Doppelganger and it matches Richter. Those I'm not terribly interested in doing. It's identical, so it's just going to be symbols, global symbols that differ. We'll go to the top of this file and see if I have any include ASMs that are still. That's the only one left in this file. So everything else looks like it might be. There's a bunch in this file. Everything else in that Richter file looks like it's a duplicate of something else. So there's a bunch of new stuff here. So some comments that I have look like this is... Yeah, we'll probably have a bunch of new stuff in this file. So let's start with the B9144. Windows 8, though, that was the one, thinking about it, that was the one that got rid of the start menu for the whole, like, mobile interface. Is that right? Now I'm remembering. How long have we been going? Oh, we've been going 2 hours. That's too long. We're done. We're done for today. Too long. I need to go do real things. So decompiling. Go to soten.z.dev to learn more about the Symphony Night decompilation project. Appreciate everybody for showing up, for the help, for watching me fail, watching me succeed. That is kind of the point. Is I'm learning. Hope to help people learn along the way with me. Enjoy getting help from all of you. We've been working on the Richter boss, not in this file. I have not submitted any of this. I submitted just the import of the original symbols and splits and nothing else. So yeah, check out the project if you want to know more, and I'll be back on Thursday. That's tomorrow. Adios. Appreciate the thanks for the anniversaries. I can't cheer in my own channel, but you know, whatever. All right, adios, bye.